All right, thank you everybody for being here. I'm Ron from BPMF, and I am joined again by Patrick with Modern Civilian Combat. So one thing that we've been talking about and questions that I get quite a bit is why carry a knife? Do you need training in carrying a knife? I've already got my gun, I've got my concealed carry, so why bother with a knife?
You know, I get that a lot too. I conceal carry. My students ask me, like, hey, do you carry a knife too? We notice you carry a gun. I feel like they're two radically different tools. I'm going to start out by saying just because I carry a hammer in my toolbox does not mean I would leave my screwdriver at home. You know, I'm gonna have these different tools for different situations. I feel like they're highly affected by range. If somebody's in a very close proximity to me, the ability to ready my firearm might be difficult. It might be difficult for me to get an angle where I'm not compromising the potential of something behind my target or something moving in front of my target. And these are all really important things if you've done any firearms training whatsoever. Also, you start thinking about the potential of somebody closing distance rapidly, and you may be losing your balance or ending up in some type of clinch or grappling situation. Having a gun is going to be a very limiting factor for you to be able to grip or manipulate somebody. When I carry a knife, it really depends on what type of environment I'm going into as to where I'll carry it, but the one thing that never changes is I have something that's edged. Now, I can very clearly tell you that if I'm able to get something into like an amusement park or a fairgrounds or whatever, then other people are doing it too. So for me, I feel like it's a tool that you can get into more places in the world than you can get a gun. An edged weapon tool doesn't necessarily have to be made of metal. So you're finding now that more and more different aspects of edged weapon tools are coming into play. So having something like that and the awareness of how to use an edged tool or a puncture tool is something that you're going to have more opportunity to use. When I say that, I mean the gun is set up for very specific types of situations that it's going to improve your circumstances. A lot of the places that I travel in the world, I don't get to take my firearm, you know, and that's not just going to Europe. I mean, some of the states in our country, I can't take my firearm. So being able to pop into Ace Hardware and pick up a box cutter or a $6 kitchen knife and have something, to me, makes sense. Now, when you start thinking of why train with a knife, if I were to take a small child, let's say 6, 7 years old, not anything that's pronounced or strong or anything like that, but the minute that I take them and I teach them some common lines and some economy of motion with a blade, and then I really kind of drill them into it and I get them comfortable with me moving in and closing distance on them. And now I take a parent and I say, why don't you go over there and try to pick up little Billy or little Susie and walk out of the room with her, but I want you to do it without getting marked by this Sharpie marker. Now all of a sudden we figure out that, you know, they said Colt was the great equalizer, but long before that, a much smaller person with a much larger aggressive attacker, if they could deploy an edged weapon, it changes everything. It's really just a matter of knowing where to place it. So when you can take a small individual like a child and you can teach them these basic lines, imagine what you can do with a teenager or with a young adult, and you start getting them comfortable with the idea of creating enough space to deploy and then moving forward with whatever they've got to do to impose their will. Now, it seems a little bit far-fetched for the average person, but when I train people that have never done any self-defense or anything before, they find that within a second they can get out their knife, and it takes maybe a day or two of training, but within a second they can create space and deploy. I don't know about you, man, but if I made the mistake of picking somebody as my victim, and next thing you know they got a little 2-3 inch tiger claw flaring out, all of a sudden I'm going to be rethinking my life decisions. So I try to convey that to them, that, you know, because of their disparity of force, they can immediately become effective within a couple of weeks. Whereas, and I'll be honest, a lot of hand-to-hand combat systems, things like that. If you're not going to dedicate a year, 2 years to it and really hit it hard, it's difficult to become capable quickly. But the minute you can learn to deploy that knife, you can start changing people's minds. So I like to start there with a lot of the smaller people, because it becomes that immediate defense factor, that immediate accountability. We're one of the few animals in the kingdom that was deprived of fang and claw, but we have these massive brains. So we need to carry a tool that can create a solution for those close quarter situations. If you're across the room, there's not much I can do, but are you an immediate threat to me? You know, I'm better off to disengage. So that's where my firearm would come into play. But I feel like the majority of the situations that I would get into, my knife is more likely going to be the useful tool of the day. So, but that doesn't give me a reason to not train in firearms, you know? So, you can't just be a specialist and not at least be aware of the tactics and tools that are involved. And so I try to educate and just give them options, and at that point they have to find their peace with carrying that tool. But it's really incredible if you video some or if you look up some video or some still photos of what a knife wound looks like. It's rather intense.
Or if you see them in the real world.
Yeah, so I mean, through edged weapon awareness class, we're not just learning to deploy a knife and use it, but like, what if somebody else is crazed and has a knife and is trying to use it? You start understanding where you can be safe, how to manipulate a tool like that out of somebody's hand. You know, there's a lot that comes into edged weapon awareness. It's not just getting your knife out and getting it to flesh. So,
well, and like, we have a lot of ladies that come through our courses and your courses, and you know, they like to wear their cute little dresses and their little yoga pants, and even us meatheads, you know, we want to wear our short shorts and our tank tops and our stringers, and it's so easy just to throw a knife right on that waistline, where throwing a gun could be a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
So
I'm not going to go do, calisthenics with my gun, but it's easy for me to have something tucked in the waistline, or even just a little box cutter, something small. But I'd rather need it and have it there than think, oh, today's not going to be the day, and just be lazy. So really, like I said, it's just a tool. A hammer's a great hammer, but it's a shitty screwdriver. So you gotta find your medium there. And I'll be honest, I don't have the intense training you guys have with a firearm. So to me, my knife is kind of my primary, and my firearm my secondary. I'm more likely to use my firearm to try to help somebody else than I am myself, because if you're my problem here, I'm more comfortable with my knife in this distance.
okay, so yeah, that's some reasons why when I went through Patrick's training, he taught some things about how to deploy a knife, how to hold a knife, to show that it was a defensive use of the knife, ways to show the investigator that you were defending yourself, not you were the aggressive attacker. So there's a lot of really good things that you can learn from Patrick's classes, whether you're an average everyday civilian or you're in law enforcement or some type of security detail as well. Having that training can be very useful, can save your life someday. So, and like I said, if you want to go out jogging, it's hard to take your gun with you, but it's real easy to throw a knife in a waistband. So, all right, anything else to add?
No, I feel like it's about being well-rounded and just being all around capable.
So watch for our next video, where we're going to talk about some different considerations when choosing a knife and some different ways to carry a knife on your person. So thank you so much for being here, Patrick, and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. If you want to look up more information on Patrick, you can go to modernciviliancombat.com, or you can go to his Instagram page with the same name. Of course, we'll have his information on the BPMF website, as well as upcoming trainings and different things that you'll be able to learn from Patrick at our training center. So everybody have a good day, and thanks for joining us.